We're all looking forward to the Biden-Trump presidential debates. You've written in the New York Post that if Trump wants to prevail in these debates, all he has to do is shut up and let Biden speak, or at least try to speak. You wrote that even the best zinger of a line from Trump cannot do more harm to Biden than Biden can do to Biden. He does have a knack of just saying outrageous lies, doesn't he? But will Trump take your advice? Will he be able to control himself?
Well, it's a really key test for Trump. I mean, the last election, you remember, of the two debates, the polls all showed really the voters did not like Donald Trump in the first debate, and they liked him slightly more in the second. And the reason is that he just didn't allow Biden to speak in the first debate. He was too aggressive. He just kept interrupting. Even if you support a particular candidate or person, one rule of television is just, if you keep interrupting and interrupting, everyone thinks, they just get fed up of you. And Donald Trump was, of course, a TV star before he was president. And he should know that. You can sort of irritate the viewer. And I think he did that in the first debate last time. And the key thing, as I mentioned in that piece, is that, Biden trips himself up all the time. Just let the man speak. Watch any speech of his. And the minute he has to go off script, such as it is, he loses train of thought. He did it again the other day. He just kind of says, "Oh, well, anyway, I was going to say, but well, anyway, I don't need to tell you that." And he hasn't said anything yet. I think that if Trump just lets Biden speak, it will show a lot of viewers and a lot of voters that the commander-in-chief, for whatever his virtues in the past, is a rather sad reflection of that at the moment, and that America needs for the next 4 years a president who is as sprightly and capable as possible. I think that there's only one way to show that. As I say, that's for Donald Trump to shut up. But is that an easy piece of advice for him to take? I'd have said not.
I think you're right there. The temptation will be too big for him. And if he's going to play it smart, he would also draw out the nasty Biden, because one certainly exists. And that could be a powerful thing as well, Douglas, if Trump can goad him into showing that side of himself.
Yes, Biden showed that side of himself just the other day at the commencement address he gave, in the US, and it was a bitter, unpleasant, ugly message, and also means of communication that Biden did. And he basically told all these black students that the country was against them. It was very sad, actually. But sad that these young black students at commencement should get this advice. At the same time, Donald Trump was in New Jersey telling everyone it didn't matter what color they were, what color your skin is, you're all American. But Biden was doing this very mean speech, and he looked mean doing it, really mean and angry, and he didn't think when he starts to shout. And I think that stuff goes across very badly. Everyone says, it's Trump with the female voters who goes over badly, but I think some of that with Biden goes over with female voters and others, just not that well.
I think you're 100% right. Actually, let's just have a quick look at what you've just spoken about. Firstly, let's have a look at Trump when he gave that speech in the Bronx. It was one of unity and a largely positive message.
Whatever the hell color you are, it doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
And you contrast that with the speech you mentioned, the one President Biden gave at a historically black college the previous week. Very different.
You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. and there was a reckoning on race, it's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? Betrayal of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot.
Douglas, very different approaches there. Biden's speech seems to be obsessed about racial division and victimhood, and this message that you need to be, as black Americans, 10 times better than non-black Americans to do as well. Who is he speaking to with that kind of rhetoric?
It's very interesting. Biden came in with the idea that he was a great uniter, that he'd be the sort of father or perhaps grandfather figure of the nation. And whenever he does this kind of speech, you're saying, but do you remember what you said you'd be? Do you remember that you said you'd try to unite the nation? What are you doing here? And why are you demotivating black students and actually lying to them that the country is against them? And that, to pick up that phrase, black men are just being murdered in the streets. I mean, it's true that quite a lot of black men are murdered in the streets, and they're murdered by other black men in cities like Chicago in terrible gun violence that goes on all the time. But Biden wasn't talking about that. He talked about George Floyd and then went straight on this idea that, I mean, basically that cops and goodness knows who else just kill black men all the time. That's not true. But it is the sort of rhetoric and ideas that you would you would expect to hear from somebody wanting to whip up a certain base on ethnic lines and racial lines. And that's clearly what Biden was doing in that speech. But it's really ugly. And it feels to me at any rate, like a rhetoric of the past in America, describing at the best the past in America.
Now let's talk about Prince Harry and the saga with his visa papers. The court case over the Duke of Sussex's US visa is still going on. We still don't know whether Harry was honest about his past drug use, as revealed in his memoir Spare. The White House has pleaded with the court to keep the documents confidential, Douglas. Lawyers for the Department of Homeland Security argued that releasing the papers would create a stigma. The Heritage Foundation is the one that's filed a Freedom of Information request to access the records related to Harry's March 2020 visa. Douglas, this story does tickle me because Trump has been open to deporting Harry if he's elected, and it's revealed that Harry lied on his official document.
Yes, I know. I'm not wild about this story just because I actually, this is one that makes me feel rather sorry for Prince Harry, and it takes a bit for me to do that. I mean, this is his sort of personal, immigration situation, a story, and
Douglas, he's the one who told us about his drug use in that book. I mean, if he's in this situation, it's completely self-inflicted.
Well, no, I agree with that. I mean, there was no need. First of all, there was no need for him to write the book. And secondly, there certainly wasn't any need for him to write a book in which he said things that would then get him into trouble with immigration authorities in the years immediately ahead. And it's very unwise. But then, as I say, everything to do with that was unwise. I mean, it's very unwise to spill secrets about your family in public, not least because you might then discover that your family are wild about speaking to you in private, knowing that it's all going to be made public. I mean, it's a terrible misjudgment by him. I just think, I sort of feel vaguely sorry for him about some of this because, he's clearly badly advised. He clearly doesn't think very far ahead for himself. And anyway, I mean, that's the only time you'll get a granting of pity for the spare prince from me.